Well, that's annoying. I don't know if you can hear me or not. It says I'm going live. Now it says I'm live. It's annoying because I'm late. I usually like to be here a minute early, and now I'm right on time, which to me is late. How's everybody doing today? I know you can't answer for everybody. I meant everybody here. Right. So I try to run an audio recording of this every day, and 2 of the 4 times this week that I've done that, I failed at running the audio recording. So I've started the audio recording, and we'll see if it's still going when I'm done. And won't that be fun? I think I'm gonna start putting this up as a podcast next week, as an audio podcast next week. I hope you'll keep coming here to see it live, and I hope people will keep finding it on YouTube. I haven't announced it at all yet. I mean, basically, it's just been Twitter, and that's it. So you people finding it here are awesome. But yeah, I think I'm gonna start talking about it Monday. I had intended to go a full 4 weeks before I started talking about it at all live. But Apple's doing their thing next week. How ridiculous would it be to, like, miss that? Or, I don't know, maybe. Anyway, that's what I'm thinking. Just letting you all know that now. Don't know why I'm letting you know that now, because 'cause you'll find out next week. Same as me once I finally decide. Anyway, 5 people here. David's here. Hey, David, how's it going? I don't know who else is here because nobody else has said anything yet. That's fine. For people, who are here live, stick around. Hello, Bill. Thank you very much for your email, by the way, Bill. Hello, Paul. Good to see you. Thank you for your email, Bill. I appreciate that. Let's see. Right, let's just get in. And if you have, hello, Matthew. Right. Anybody who's got any comments or anything, if this is your first time here, I don't generally speaking talk about the comments during the show, but stick around if you have any questions, comments, anything you want to throw in there. I would love it if you did, and we'll talk about it after the show with the quotes. Okay, here we go. 5G confusion abounds and want to not get together again in November. It is Friday, the 9th of October, and this is macOS Ken Live 2020, by the way. It's October of 2020. I forgot to say that important part. Hi, I'm Ken Ray, welcoming you into this afternoon's edition or evening's edition or whatever, this latest edition of macOS Ken Live. Stuff to talk about today. Well, second half of the show, we're going to talk about something that we haven't talked about yet. It lives in the land of rumor and conjecture, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, why not? John Prosser is throwing out the idea that there is going to be a November Apple event, which we'll talk about in the second half. First half, though, is actually going to be sort of a reiteration of stuff that we've talked about, honestly, on In a Few Minutes and here on this show for the past 3 weeks, because that's how old this show is. In a Few Minutes, though, we've been talking about it for most of the year. Not only does anybody need 5G, does anybody know why they want 5G, but how many people are walking around thinking they already have 5G? This is kind of amazing to me that this is still a thing, but of course, this is what we do every day, and a lot of people don't do this every day or anything like it. Amber Neely over at Apple Insider wrote a piece up under the headline, half of iPhone users believe that they have 5G connectivity now, which is, I think we all know why, but we'll get to why they think that or why we think they think that. In a survey taken before the iPhone 12, it's kind of funny because all surveys to this point have been before the iPhone 12. But you get her point. In a survey taken before the iPhone 12 launch, roughly 49% of US consumers believe their current iPhone is 5G compliant. The study performed by Global Wireless Solutions asked 5,000 US smartphone users if they believe that their iPhone could access 5G. While 49% answered yes, 29% of all smartphone users were unsure whether their phones could access 5G. Now, she points to that disingenuous label in the upper, trying to remember, left-hand corner of your iPhone screen and smartphone screens in general that say 5GE, which I can't remember what that stands for. I think it was like their LTE evolved or something like that. People have actually, like, I believe there was actually an advertising or a marketing organization that said what AT&T was doing there was wrong. Starting in February of 2019 in certain areas, AT&T was upgrading some of their networks. That part is not the wrong part. To let you know that you were in their upgraded area, they started putting 5G E in the upper left-hand corner, at the top of the iPhone screen and other screens as well, letting you know that you were on a faster network. And they swore they didn't mean to make people think that they already had 5G. And you could tell that's not what they were trying to do, because all they did was put 5G up in the corner with an E after it. How could that possibly confuse anybody? Personally, I find the whole thing ridiculous. And also, it's really confusing because I know we keep talking about him, the guy from a couple of weeks ago whose name I've forgotten now, the CEO of AT&T Wireless Communication. He said he doesn't think people are going to want to pay extra for 5G. Well, I actually said when they started doing this, well, I know I've talked about it on In a Few Minutes sometime this year. That show is only a year old, so maybe I haven't talked about it before that. AT&T is going to come along and say, we want to charge you more for 5G. And a lot of people are going to hold up their phone and say, well, I've had 5G for a year and a half, however long it is that it's been the upgraded network where they are. It's it was an insane prospect. It was disingenuous. It was nuts. And now it's leading people to some confusion. Well, that and a bunch of other things as well, because who knows why people are confused about it. It's strange to me that anybody thinks they already have 5G unless they're walking around with an AT&T phone, or maybe they just heard the buzz and assume that they've got it. I don't know. Global Wireless Solutions points out, when only looking at users that purchased a phone in 2020, nearly a quarter were unsure about their phone's 5G capabilities. Again, kind of odd, because if you're buying it this year, you would think that that would be a question that you would ask. Now, I'm not accusing anybody who works in wireless stores, and come to think of it, do people still work in wireless stores? I mean, can you go in and get talked to by a salesperson at this point? I had a friend several years ago who saw me using my iPhone, really liked my iPhone, went to a Sprint store to buy an iPhone, and walked out with some kind of LG something because the salesperson convinced him that he didn't want an iPhone. What he wanted was this thing. I definitely don't want to say that salespeople in stores are telling people, yeah, it's 5G. I don't know where the confusion's coming from, though. I do know one time I was at a Best Buy and I heard a guy sell a Zune to somebody who came in to buy an iPod, because what he said was they're the same. And then he said, honestly, the Zune's actually better. My guess is he was getting something for selling the Zune. Because otherwise, why would you insert yourself in that situation? Somebody comes in, they say, I want an iPod. You go, they're over there. You don't go, yeah, what you really want is this other thing that's going to be dead in 6 months, by the way, because it was towards the end of the Zune run. But I digress and I digress and I digress. There's another weird set of numbers that makes this sound less like a market study and more like a psychology experiment. The percentage of smartphone users who are unsure if their carrier provides 5G. In rural areas, 45% don't know, and that's fine. In suburban areas, 47% don't know, and that's fine. In urban areas, 27% don't know. Now, here's what's interesting. Those numbers don't say whether those people are right. In rural areas, 45% are unsure. In suburban areas, 47% are unsure. Urban, 27% are unsure. If we go the other way on that, that would seem to indicate that 55% are sure in the sticks. Around cities, 53% are sure. And in the cities, what would that be? Because I'm bad at math. 73% are absolutely sure. Doesn't mean they're correct. All it says is, all it really speaks to is how, confident they are in their belief. Same thing goes with the age study. 18 to 24, 41% of smartphone users believe their phones are 5G capable. 18 to 24, it's 41%. 25 to 34, 58%. 35 to 44, 62% of people are confident 45 to 54, it's 35%. 55 to 64, it's 19%. And 65 to 74, it's 18%. I don't know what that means. It's fascinating, though. The young people know everything, and the older people, I mean, I don't know if the person you're talking to at that point is confused because they're just not sure what you're talking about, or if they finally come to a place in life where they realize knowing that they do not know is the beginning of wisdom. I love that idea that this survey, ostensibly about 5G, is actually about trying to assess the mental health and stability of the United States based on 5,000 people, some of whom who live deep in cities, some of whom live around cities, and some of whom live way outside of cities, running an age range. Getting a tiny bit more serious and coming around to what's happening next week, here is the hill that somebody has to climb. And I don't know if it's Apple that has to do it or the wireless carriers or who. Turning back to Ms. Neely's article, the study also shows that while consumers are interested in 5G, 74% don't believe that they'll see meaningful benefits this year. Additionally, 38% of consumers have stated that they would not pay more for 5G, maintaining that they shouldn't be charged more for improved network and device performance. Oh, that's cute. I want to hug you. I personally don't think you're wrong. I also gave up that fight ages ago. I don't know. Then again, you do have carriers out there. I'm not naming names right this second, but we will circle back to them in a bit. Who are like, yeah, if you're in our 5G coverage, you got 5G. If you have a 5G phone as well, if you're in 4G coverage, you got 4G. That would be really neat. AT&T is obviously not going to do that because, again, that CEO that we heard from said, I don't know why people would pay extra for it. Okay, I don't know why you're charging extra for it if you don't know why people would pay extra for it. Except, of course, there's a whole other G. You think those Gs are free? I don't know. When surveys respondents, I'm sorry, question was when do survey respondents expect to receive meaningful 5G benefits? This is also spread all over the place. 26% say sometime this year, 27% say sometime next year, 9% say 2022, 4% say 2023 or beyond. Then there are some who say they expect to see it, come in fits and starts. They expect incremental changes over the next few years. Sad. 4% say not in their lifetime. Do they know something we don't? Maybe that was the 74 plus demographic. I don't know. Speaking of I don't know, 22% of people say they don't know. They have no idea when they're going to see benefits from 5G. But at least half of them think their phone's already ready for it. Curious to see the case that Apple makes next week for their 5G phone. Do they even care? Do they need to sell? I mean, they do, right? They need to sell the benefit of 5G. Man, who's the new guy? Greg Joswick. He's not new. He's been at Apple for 20 years, but he's their marketing guy now. He's got quite the needle to thread, right? Because he's going to tell you this phone is the best thing since sliced bread. And when you have it, maybe you'll see benefit in the next 3 to 5 years, depending on how close you live to a tower and whether your carrier has actually done the 5G thing. This is what I would call a cluster thing. No, not necessarily. It's fine. Because here's the other thing really quickly. I see really quickly, like you're catching a bus. Here's the other thing. I know people who buy the new iPhone every year. They know the size of iPhone they like. They know the type of iPhone they like, and they buy a new iPhone every year. Other people like myself buy a new iPhone every couple of years. I actually went 3 years one time. I don't buy the next one just because. I both want Apple to tell me next week something that makes me think, well, I got to get a new iPhone because I need that. Whether that be because it just fills, the gaping hole in my life, or because it's actually going to introduce something that I'm going to need to talk about on shows like this one and on Mac OS Ken and in a few minutes. I would love it if they do something so spectacular with telephony or with 5G or with the iPhone that I'm like those monkeys in 2001 that I will just have no understanding of it until I actually touch it and, see what it does, let it be part of my life, all that. Other people that were gonna buy the iPhone 12 Pro Max, and it doesn't matter because last year they bought the iPhone 11 Pro Max or whatever. Other people are gonna buy the iPhone 12 because, new year, new phone. I mean, some people are on the I get a new phone every year or every 2 years plan anyway, and so they're just gonna get it. It's interesting to talk about what Apple needs to do. I remember being on, MacBreak Weekly several years ago, when, we were still walking around with, 3G iPhones, and Leo and I can't remember who else were talking about the fact that Apple really messed up by not introducing 4G because 4G was starting to roll out places, and people want 4G, he said, and I argued what people want is iPhone because despite the lack of 4G at the time, people were still buying iPhones. People were still, at the time, lining up for iPhones. They would release an iPhone would be hard to get. I think the reason I want Apple to tell me why I need 5G is because nobody else is going to. Apple doesn't really have a vested interest in me paying more to AT&T or Verizon or Sprint or T-Mobile or Boost or Cricket or Mint Mobile or whoever. They have no vested interest in me paying the carrier more money. The carrier does. So the carrier is going to do what the carrier did with 4G. Remember how they had a box and they would drop like a sports figure in there, and I think they dropped Beyonce in there, and they paid a ton of money for these ads, and they put all these things in there that were supposed to tell me why I needed to pay more for 4G or why I needed to rush out and get a 4G phone. And I'll grant you, 4G is a lot better than 3G, but I only cared once I actually had a phone that could do 4G, and I happened to be a place where there was a 4G network. Maybe it is a psych experiment. Maybe this is a study in marketing. Who's going to get together with whom and really convince me, not even that your network is better than anybody else's, just why the heck I care? Why do I need it? Talking mostly about the general consumer, although I'm curious why I need it as well. Right? Let's not get together in November. Let's not get together again in November, I think is what I said a moment ago. We'll get to that in a moment, but first, I don't know. This is the part where I ask you to do something. This is also going to be a little psych experiment, but not really. Yesterday, I had a long conversation with a friend of mine, with an associate, about some business stuff. And what was weird is when I got off that 1 hour call, I had two contacts from two completely unrelated people wanting to do business things. This is the most hippie thing you're ever going to hear me say. If you've got an idea, talk to somebody about your idea. I don't mean give away intellectual property, but I mean, if you've got something, kicking around in here, talk to somebody about it because weird things happen when you do that. I have always believed that putting yourself out there, while scary, can lead to amazing things. And my proof of that, I have so many friends and so many people that I never would have met, come across, even knew existed if I didn't do macOS Ken. Not saying start a podcast, although if you're thinking about starting a podcast, I would encourage you to. If you want to ask me questions about that, shoot me an email, info@macosken.com. Here's what I'm saying. Put yourself out there. Don't be dangerous. Don't be stupid. Don't be ostentatious, but don't be afraid. Because truly amazing things happen when you do. An easier call to action is to say, hey, hit like, hit share. But that's only rewarding for me. That's not terribly rewarding for you. I don't know. Either put yourself out there or hug a tree. Because when's the last time you seriously hugged a tree? Right. Okay. Let's move on to the other thing. This will be shorter because there's not really as much to it. Prolific Apple leaker John Prosser says there is going to be a November Apple event. And I will tell you, when I first heard that, my thought was, well, not that he's high, but that he's incorrect. A November event? So close to the holidays. You're gonna shut everything down. You're gonna get everybody together. You're gonna have people fly all across the country. Hey, wait, we're not doing that anymore for any of these events. And suddenly it does not seem ridiculous that you could have a November event. Non-event, if you want to. Events are not events anymore. They are network specials, right? They're the political conventions from earlier this year. People got together, they watched it, or they didn't get together because we're not doing that either. But people sat there and they watched it and it happened. And we said there was a convention. Heck, New York Comic Con is happening this week. And New York Comic Con is a bunch of different people in a bunch of different places getting in front of a camera, just like this one, maybe a little nicer than this one, but getting together or sitting in front of a camera and having, a panel. Same thing happened with San Diego Comic Con. Tons of virtual conventions and things like that have happened this year. And while they are, I'm not saying there's no logistics involved. You're not bringing people out. You're not asking people to travel near the holidays. You're not shutting down Apple's campus. Um, there's no reason they couldn't do an event next month. Now, then the thing I wonder is, okay, what are they going to announce? Prosser seems to think that the November event would involve the Apple Silicon Mac and maybe the over-ear headphones. Personally, I can't see either of those warranting an event, except again, an event is not an event. They might have already shot that, and they're just going to show it in November. I don't know. As far as things that they might announce, he says, or somebody says that there's talk that mass production of Apple's over-ear headphones won't be done until the 20th of October, and that's the reason we're not going to see that next week. I mean, if production's not done, who cares? Production wasn't done on the iPhone 10 when Apple announced it and said it's coming in a month. I don't think the fact that the iPhone over-the-ear head or the Apple over-ear headphones, if they even exist, I don't think the fact that they won't be ready means that we won't see them next week. Again, though, I don't know that that's worth a November event, except if we go ahead and just make events part of our production schedule. If we go ahead and make events just part of what we do, there's no reason you couldn't have one every month, except they get stale. I don't know. I don't necessarily like the idea of a November event because I don't see enough reason for it, but I no longer think it's ridiculous. The idea of it, anyway, is ridiculous. Oh, sure, it's possible the event will be ridiculous. We all remember iPod Socks, which I believe was also the Hi-Fi event. I remember at the time, Dan Lyons was still writing for whoever he was writing for. Was it Forbes? I can't remember. He complained about having to come out to San Francisco for that event. And I thought he was incredibly ungrateful because I couldn't score an invitation to an Apple event if my life depended on it. I thought he was incredibly ungrateful. I get it now. Not because I've had that experience now, but I get it. I'm older. He was older than I am now, I think, when he was writing about that. And to have to schlep all the way from New York City to San Francisco to have somebody, say something that iPod Hi-Fi and iPod Socks, maybe a leather case for an iPod, I think. It lacked luster. This is a part of the show where I do feedback, although there really isn't any. Nobody's been writing. It's fine. Going to introduce this, I believe, as a podcast, like I say, next week. I would imagine that feedback will pick up then. I love, though, when people do leave comments on these videos or send me email. So leave a comment on this video if you want to, or send me an email, info@macoscan.com. There is one thing. No, I think I'm going to hold on to that. I'm going to hold on to that because it doesn't really go here. Oh, that's terrible. I was going to make a clarification about something I said on macOS Can, but I should actually do that on macOS Can. So I guess we're about done for today, for the week, actually. Yeah. Big plans for the weekend? I know I don't. I'll probably dream up another show and start producing that, because I got the hours of 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. I'm sleeping. But I got 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. wide open. Thank you, everybody who comes to see this live and everybody watching it later. If you're here in the chat room, and there's tons of chat going on over there, I'm excited about this. If you're here live, stick around because I'll, hit all that stuff in just a moment. Everybody else, I'm so sorry you missed that because it may have been the best chat ever. Be here live. 3:30 p.m. Pacific, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, other times, other places, Monday through Friday. It would be just like you joining us if you were to join us. Have a great weekend, everybody. Time for myself. Paul, what are you talking about? Time for myself. This is actually all for me. This rejuvenates, this revitalizes. So this is time for myself. I'm honestly, there's always a tiny bit of nervousness about doing the live thing, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it. And the fact that people show up and say stuff is just fantastic. But I also like the rodeo aspect. I don't remember if I mentioned that here yesterday or not. The whole rodeo idea is basically, you prep, you plan, and then the gate opens and you hang on. It was more like that with the call-in show, though, because you never knew what people were going to say. Right. Wow. Lots of thoughts on today's. Holy cow. All right. Let's see. Is it possible that there will be an event in November? The question is, will Apple announce the Apple Silicon Macs on Tuesday? See, okay, that's one. Let's start right there, Paul. I don't know. Does that warrant an event? I hate to sound like an idiot, but they've already told us about Apple Silicon. Are they going to get together and tell again? Because really what's going to happen is Big Sur. Really what's going to happen is what we've always known about the Mac, but going ahead and making that leap, right? But as I said before, also, you're not dragging anybody anywhere. Nobody's coming to sit there with other people. Nobody's having to arrange travel or anything. They could easily do that. I would be surprised if they do talk about the Apple Silicon Mac next week, because I think it's more of a consumer electronics show. And I know that, yes, a laptop is a consumer electronics device, but I'm thinking more like personal devices, things like if they do that HomePod Mini that people are saying, or if they are going to, well, obviously there's going to be an iPhone. I wouldn't expect a Mac announcement next month. The only thing I'm on the fence on is, do they want to do the whole production thing for the Mac, where they pretty much already did that at WWDC. But we'll see. That only works next year. Think the people who have dual band Wi-Fi at home or get on it in different stores, shops, etc., see the 5 gigahertz and they connect that with what they think they have. That's interesting. The AT&T thing, Matthew says, is another issue, just like you said. It is like I said. I think it's terrible. Honestly, if this was the EU, and I'm not saying it should be, but if this was the EU, I would imagine they would have been fined by now, because that is straight up misleading. Here we just tend to go, hey, you shouldn't do that. And AT&T is like, yeah, stop me. What are you, the EU? Salespeople tend to sell whoever is giving a spiff or an incentive. Yeah, that's true. When Ritz Camera was still in business, wow, you just blew my mind, man. When Ritz Camera was still in business, all the companies did. Canon, Fuji, Nikon, etc. Happened at carpet stores too. It makes sense. I mean, it's a drag that that's the case. A carpet store, I mean, here's me not having sold carpet. It doesn't seem like it would be that big a deal. But then again, a lot of people would say it doesn't matter. Hey, my friend who ended up with his LG, whatever, he was very happy with his phone. He really liked his phone. I really didn't like the fact that we couldn't, do the stuff that's specific to the Apple ecosystem. But, he didn't care what I like. So that's fine. Frank Petrie in the house? Frank Petrie leaving. I'm sorry. I prefer mine in doubly. I know Frank's gone. Sorry, I'm trying to read. There's a lot of stuff here. Problem with the Mac Break episode was that they want the latest and greatest, like most tech people. Yeah, I guess. And I try to think about what I want. Look, as far as I'm concerned, Apple's a failure because I don't have AR glasses. Of course, they're not really a failure. I just want AR glasses. But I won't stand there and say, well, Apple's doomed if they don't come out with AR glasses, because while I care about that, somebody else cares about the 5G iPhone, somebody else cares about the Silicon Mac, somebody else cares about, the next round of AirPods. We all have things. Interesting. Matthew says the only reason that he's had for updating iPhones is the higher res screen and the better camera. See, that's the thing you care about. I wouldn't even think about going with the iPhone XR because you couldn't do, portrait mode, true portrait mode, or whatever you call it, basically because it was all software, because you could only aim it at faces, and I like taking pictures of my microphone with, the background blurred with portrait mode and stuff like that. So, yeah, that was for the camera, but I could easily see it being for something else. The one thing that I wonder about, one of the pieces I read, I can't remember which one, said that the, 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max are gonna have world-facing LiDAR, which is gonna help it, map your area and be great for, augmented reality. Tim Cook says augmented reality is going to be the greatest thing ever, but he also says the point of technology is to get out of your way. And if I have to do this to take augmented reality, that is my technology getting straight in my way so that I can see a ball hover in the air. I mean, it's exciting to see, and I want to continue to see it, progress. I want to see what kinds of apps and things people are making with it. But until I can just, point at something, not point at something, right? Until that happens. I hate that thing, by the way. You're all seeing that. That's so I can put my phone on the magnet on my dashboard because I shouldn't be playing with my phone anyway. Maybe I just admitted something terrible. I use it for directions. Don't off my back. All right. Forgive me. Matthew says many people who are doing work from home these days like interaction with people they actually like to interact with. I'm wondering if you're saying that's a reason to keep doing the events that you go to, or if you're just talking about the chat here. If you can let me know, Matthew, I'm going to keep reading some other stuff, and I'll look for your answer at the bottom. Interesting. Paul says, I agree with Leo Laporte that Apple will be looking for a brand new look for the new Macs so that people can recognize the new look and know it is a new Mac. I had not heard Leo say that. That is interesting. I think you could also make a case, and I'm not disagreeing. I think you could also make a case that what Apple would really like is for this to look exactly the same so that people won't be freaked out, so that people won't worry about making the move from one to the other. If you can walk into an Apple store and look at a Mac and not know from the outside whether it's Intel or Apple Silicon, I would think that would actually give you a bit more confidence that you're not going into something that's going to be scary. Because I think there are going to be some people who are maybe a little freaked out by it. I'm excited about it personally. The one thing I'm worried about is Adobe Audition, because that's what I use to edit all of my audio. I assume though that they're going to be working, that it's going to work, or it'll work in virtualization or something. Because who wants to lose that? Because I'm not going to Logic Pro yet. Maybe someday. Hey, Frank is here. Okay, I don't know what I was saying then, Frank. I'm not sure what you mean about treating my microphone the way I treat my cats, but okay. I do take pictures of animals as well. Basically, well, and the occasional person. Not many, though. Oh, okay. Doing the chat here. I'm glad, Matthew. I'm glad. That's something I've always noticed about every live show that I've been part of. There ends up being a group of people who really are just getting together to talk to each other while I say something in the background, or on Mission Log while we were saying something in the background. It's neat. It's neat. These like little communities grow or coalesce. Yeah. Matthew says he's a Patreon member for some unrelated content, and they do special live and chat or pre-submitted questions. Yeah, I thought about it, but I'm turning it into a show that can be mass consumed, so I kind of skipped that part. The secret of the whole thing is the fact that it was here. Although I did share with my Patreon supporters as well that this was happening, and I know some Patreon supporters are here, and I'm appreciative of both their being here and their support. How much they do for the ARM Mac launch will depend on how much they have to sell. If it's a low volume launch, can't see an event. So says Bill. Yeah, I mean, I guess what I'm saying at this point is when I first heard it, I thought it was nuts, but that's because I was still thinking in terms of the before times. I was thinking of asking people to, go someplace and arrange travel and all that stuff, a week before Thanksgiving or 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. Now they might be happy to be able to go, "Listen, seriously, don't come into the office for an hour because I have to watch this thing." I don't know. I don't know how people work. Other people work, that is. All right, everybody. This was fun. Thank you so much. Man, I love when you fill up the chat like that because that's great. It means we're, doing something. We're back together Monday. Oh, I meant to mention this on macOS Ken. No, in a few minutes for Monday or Tuesday of next week. It's going to be the same basically as the Time Flies event. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, though, I'll get different people and we'll talk about what was announced. So maybe I'll put a short thing in the end, a few minutes feed as well to say that. So there we go. Columbus Day, I don't even know what that is. No. For whatever reason, Monday holidays kind of escape both me and the organization that does sales for macOS Ken. And so Monday holidays tend to not be holidays for me. The last time I took a Monday holiday, I did take one for Labor Day, and it honestly took about 3 weeks after that to get all of the scheduling for the different sponsors and such back in order. It was to take that one day meant having to check my production for 2 weeks, maybe 3. It's easier to do a Monday show. Maybe I'll put a live thing in. Although I don't think anybody's taking Monday off, are they? Loss of sync. Well, now I got that Devo song in my head. So thanks, Frank. Banks and government entities are the only ones that stick to holidays anymore. Well, I know, yeah, probably. I don't know. I'm a big fan of a Monday holiday. I mean, if I think of it ahead of time, yeah, I'm happy to take a day off. Because I got to think of 3 more shows. Right. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. I have to go grocery shopping. The fun never stops. Take care. Talk to you soon.